So thanks a lot. Also from my side, I hope you enjoyed your coffee. And also to my previous speakers, because what I have brought to you, I think it squeezes a little bit in between your two elements, your two views on the whole topic of transformation in the automotive industry. I have to do something here. No worries. Good. Oops. So I'm very happy to be here with you. To be quite honest, it's a topic which is by heart, really something which I personally stand for as the CEO of Audi. And before I start with the topic, I would like to just give you a couple of words about our company, because I'm sure that not many of you know what the Audi business innovation is and what it's all about and where it sits. So it's a small company, to be quite honest. It's a digital subsidiary of Audi. So again, something in the Volkswagen group. Many are here. And what we do, we are doing, let's say, the implementation of digitalization. So digital transformation by heart in the city of Munich. So basically after Corona, you all know that we are also a remote company. But basically the idea is now to talk about how we are positioned in the group and what we expect, let's say, from the mothership and towards and vice versa. So let's talk about these things and how to get some things here. And this is what I mentioned before. So the digital transformation and how such small companies as we are can boost to some extent manufacturers like Volkswagen, Audi, and all the OEMs in order to get more digital. And why this is the case and how we do it and what we do, I would try to briefly talk about this. I have also brought the same with me. So I have also my supernova in the middle. But so to be quite honest, I will not spend a lot of time on these things because it's all pretty known. In my opinion, the main, let's say, aspects here is that we have really a switch between the ICE age, so manufacturers, design of cars, engines, driving the Nürburgring circuit as fast as possible, towards a different, let's say, expectation from the customer side to our industry, to what we provide, to what we have to do. And this is on top. So with the introduction of the electric vehicles and also autonomous driving, the entire expectation changed. We heard it before. We're talking about experiences. We're talking about experience layers. We talk about life and introduction of vehicles into that life. And in our opinion, in the middle, and this is why it's so urgent for us as a company, due to the fact that the complexity of engines is so heavily reduced. I don't know if you have a clue about how complex it is to build a combustion engine with around about 1,500 components, including the transmission. And when you compare it to an electric engine with 200 components, we all know that there are no players in the game. Everyone knows the Apple car, everyone knows that Amazon is really dealing in, everyone knows that the data which we are somehow producing can be utilized in another different way as we do it today. And this is why the change in the game has accelerated, and we have now a new game, an infinite game. So basically what we observed when we saw the critical pieces of the electric vehicles out there, we have identified 3 different components which we have been confronted with as a company in total. On the left side, you see that we have a different view on the jobs, on the tasks we have to do. The first thing I explain a little bit in detail in a couple of minutes. So there is something which we have to incorporate in terms of the user's life and how to integrate vehicles, ecosystems into the life of the users and not of the drivers. And secondly, what we saw, and this is something which obviously came up, that we have so many touch points in future. When you compare it to the past, someone was driving a car. In the USC, we have heard today, there is a smartphone on vehicles. We have a lot of interactions, a lot of dots which we can put together. And this is something which we should foresee. And last but not least, and this is also a topic where I am dealing with, is that the business models coming along with the new ecosystem changes and increases super fast. So we have a lot of new accessible market elements there, and this is a benefit. And how to participate there is something that we are working on. The second piece, a software stack. It's a software stack, so it's not Danish or Swedish. We know that the software itself, so besides all the user demand, is for us obviously a challenge and obviously a chance in addition. So controlling the software stack, having the competences on board, knowing how to utilize software and technologies is key. We do it. And how? We see it later. In addition to that, we see that the companies do value propositions all over the place. So we are looking for new synergies. We're looking for new opportunities. Everywhere, all the time, we need here the right people to do so. Value proposition is important for us. And last but not least, and we heard it before, infrastructure is key. We are somehow confronted as a car manufacturer with the vehicle as one global part, and also with the ecosystem as the second global part. And how to integrate that and how to interoperate is success factor for us as well. And last but not least, and I think that's also very necessary for us all, is we have to foresee somehow trends in technical areas. So in order to somehow look at these trends, somehow to foresee what is coming next, is for us as a company, and we have innovation. Ole mentioned don't put too much on innovation, but we have it there that we are trying to figure out what the trends and how to utilize that. For instance, if you see the immersive technologies, virtual reality in a car, so entertainment in a car, super interesting pieces, how to integrate that. And also, I mentioned it here, but they are not too much of a additional value now, the LiDAR and all these pieces which we look at. So I tried to figure out beforehand. For us, it's really the main paradigm shift, and everyone who is in the OEM industry knows that as well. We are coming from a driver, so our Audi drivers, who is to some extent in love with the car, loves how to drive, will change to someone who uses a vehicle as a device, not more, not less. When we talk about autonomous driving, interior will change, behavior will change. We have to experience that. And this is something which we should consider. It's not a car, it's an experience device we should integrate with. And this is for us the main driving factor, what we all focus about in what we do. I have also a wheel with me, a different one to you. So the basic idea of what we do in Audi Business Innovation is that we change the way of thinking how to build cars and how to build a global environment there. So the idea is to do an outside-in thinking. So we see the customer outside. He has a lot of life areas. In the past, we focused so much on mobility, subscription, how to get people into the car, how to get from A to B. And we saw that there's a big need to integrate additional life areas. So not to just focus on mobility, but to enlarge that. Because people are expecting from us to integrate that to some extent. For us, it is very important that in the middle, we have here the Audi logo. In the middle is the device. We all know that some, let's say, ecosystems around, we are not as powerful as other, let's say, software companies are. We know that the great benefit is coming from integrating the ecosystem with the car. So if you have a sensor, you can utilize for whatever reason, instance health, then you can use that. This is a kind of an unfair advantage that you have to use and utilize. And this is how we address it. So we focused entirely on the overall life areas, and we identified, and you see it here as kind of a symbol, that there are a couple of pieces where we can focus on, where we should focus on. I come to that later, which of these elements we are somehow exploring, somehow trying to get ideas out of it and bringing products to life. So now let's talk about our role of ABI, or the Audi Business Innovation. This is something which took me a couple of years from when I look to the past to really get the knowledge into such a big corporate company that you need a unit which is capable of building digital products. We are absolutely fantastic of building physical products, product managers, integrate with the market, integrate with the customer, and in order to build huge and very good cars which are beautiful. But basically what we do not have was a digital product development. So nobody was able to think what is the digital area and what are products, services a user and also a customer should, for instance, at the end pay for, to be quite honest. So how we do it? So we said in the past couple of years, we changed our entire, let's say, focus of the company. Beforehand, when we started 2013, we have been seen as just a IT company. So we can use you as a kind of a workbench in order to put IT components or IT know-how into the company. And we separated that. We said we are an independent company. We have an entire different mindset. It's a product mindset, it's a customer mindset, and we are willing to implement that. So what we see here is that the Audi is an innovation driver. We have been seen, have been somehow outlined as the innovation driver for the ecosystem part in the area of Audi. What we also had, and Ole mentioned as well, we had to rethink our business models. You said it quite simple. There are different business models besides selling a car via an NSE. We can sell it directly, or we can utilize also a company like we are in order to do so that we are making business and earn money as well. What is important for us is it's a kind of a ring fence at the beginning, and if you see that we are 200 people around that, so it's a very small company when you compare it to a Volkswagen Group or Audi, you need a kind of a protected area. So you need someone who is protecting you, a ring-fenced area in which you are able to grow your mindset, you grow the passion, you grow the skills that you need especially for that. Because these are somehow aliens, they are IT guys. And IT guys to some extent are even now not respected as potentially they should be. So it's a kind of a ring fence which we defend. And we have some stakeholders, some sponsors there who help us here in order to really grow and to do our own thing, because it's different. And this is important what Ole mentioned as well. Speedboat through independency, same as here, so less bureaucracy. So we had a different kind of talent acquisition. We have different kind of how to promote people. This is completely different to something which is done on a broader level. And last but not least, in my opinion, one of the most critical ones is that we are not just talking about software and building software. We are talking about teams who are able to implement products. And this is an element which, in my opinion, should be somehow focused on, that innovation is happening when people with different skills are working together on a specific problem, and they are so smart and so eager to find solutions which feels innovative. And this is how it grows. It's very natural. Ole mentioned it beforehand. If you give them space, if you give them freedom, if you give them the power and the passion that's coming from their end, it will work. So how do we do it? Same here. We have on the left side the car, and the car itself is a little bit decoupled. I think you mentioned it beforehand in your presentation that this is something we should really consider of. I heard Carriot today. So this is a big partner for us. And in the middle, there is an ecosystem which we, to some extent, decouple. So we have requirements to the car in terms of sensors, in terms of how to integrate into the operating system of the car. But basically, our focus is now to build the digital, let's say, shell around the car. This is what we do. And our, let's say, principles fit exactly to what Ole mentioned before. So we do nothing without asking the customer if this is feasible or if this is valid for them. In the past, so I'm 20 years in the business now, we had a lot of agencies making pitches. And then we find the customer, and then we find the problem. This is completely different now. So we ask the customer first. The second piece is we have to look on the money. Is there potential to really be part of the overall area in terms of getting money out of the live areas, out of the customers? So are they willing to pay for it? Is the service attractive enough so they can utilize and use it? And last but not least, it has to be technically feasible. So this is something which we do, put all three elements together, so not separate from each other. Otherwise, different groups work in different directions, and afterwards, if you combine it, it will not work. So we do it from scratch at the beginning. Coming along with the process, the development process, what we introduced on our side, and it's also going now to Audi, that we think that a development process has to be interlinked, beginning from the validation at the front, so the discovery, ideation, to validate these things and also do the prototypes and build these things up. This is where we as Audi are 100% in. In terms of skills, we hold in the company exactly what you see on the bottom. So beginning from the left side, designers, researchers, user experience. I heard today, experience is so important, otherwise people can't use it. It's far too complicated, so we focus on that. We have product developers there. We have all the things in-house which we need to develop, and going to the right things, then the engineering part comes in. So data engineers are so important for us. We have the software engineers with us, and also on the right side, all the services which we need in terms of IT security and these sort of things. So pretty normal, not really fancy. The fancy part comes in when we put the teams together. So we do not have isolated teams. They are always in, right from the beginning, in different, let's say, portions. And also teams will grow at the end because you have to scale it, but basically the idea is to put that all together. So interdisciplinary teams, putting them together right from the beginning. Secondly, always ask the customer, always. They are part of our development all the time, which is good. Do prototyping, so check it out if it's technically feasible, if it's business-wise feasible, is there a value proposition, is there anything we should add on this area. Do co-creation as well. So we believe that we are not allowed or able to somehow provide the overall life area, the ecosystem alone. We have to cooperate. People are sometimes much smarter and better when you see services which you can buy. But you have to do it on eye level. You have to incorporate, and you have to think about what is at the end, in terms of customer journey, the value for our customers. And this we should always put in focus. And if this works, then you have a chance really to be successful. So, again, coming back to what we do in order to be successful. On the left side, you see again the different layers where we're working on, and you see on the right side our approach how to implement that. We have on top trend research cooperation, which does trend research 10 years from now on. And also we have Audi Denkwerkstatt, who is incorporating with different startups in order to fit in these areas. And these four things we are currently working on. First thing is mobility, so I don't worry about charging. Everyone knows who has an electric vehicle that charging is sometimes really a hassle. In winter, maybe. If you skip out winter in these areas and the rain, then it's working, but basically it's always a hassle. It's always dirty, so we have to do something there. So this should change it all. Second piece for us, very important, is health. So we know that the health area industry is huge. Everyone has a smartwatch. So we want to control always our health status. The car is a beautiful place to interact. You have a lot of time. We can utilize that. It's time to think about your health, your well-being. For us, very interesting, important, and also in terms of safety, to prevent accidents, something which we give back to the public as well. Community is a piece we are working on, so in order to interact between people, so to share their view, to share their service, their offers, something which will integrate, so people are willing to participate and willing to give. We see that as a kind of a trend. And last but not least, entertainment in the car. So we talk about immersive virtual reality things which go into the car, but also different aspects where you are entertained during your traveling from A to B, because it changed, especially with autonomous driving. So what we are holding also inside our companies, that we are sitting on the most critical platforms we have to use in order to give it to the end customers. So what we are doing is web development and app development. because it has to be somehow interlinked. It can be smart if you do it. We have the e-commerce platform sitting with us so that we can make transactions. So someone who wants to buy something, it has to be easily viable, to be quite honest. So customer and data, key for us, since we saw that, especially in the last couple of years, we see that different companies, Apple and so, and these kind of companies are willing to also grab the data. So we are willing to somehow enrich the data and utilize it in the car and also in our ecosystem, because it can be very feasible. If you know in the past that you're always running in the same, let's say, area, the same circuit, and you have always a problem with stress, maybe the car is able to offer you a different route. And last but not least, and this is important for us, especially when we talk about integrating into the car, that these two processes, and currently they are completely separated, to be quite honest, we have here long-lasting, long processes, and on the other side, we are willing to change immediately in a couple of seconds, or would be a little bit too optimistic, but basically in every day, new versions, so they should really fit together. We need architectural agreements there. So processes, agreements, architecture things are definitely something that we're working on. So that's why we have underneath the processes there. So when we summarize it, a little bit fun repeating what you said, Ole. So for us, it's really important to have a kind of a product vision, a kind of a clear objective, and really something which we give it to our people that they use the objective and key results so that they are able to progress in terms of a product vision, but we are not telling them how to progress. Important for us. For me, the sponsorship on the top management level is key. If you don't have that, if you're just somewhere a minor business, then it will not be successful. You need someone who is really able to some extent, promote you, prevent you, and in that case, speed you up. And you have to walk the talk. This is important. What I see, if they're just hearing words, if they don't act as they do, then it will not work. In my opinion, very critical. Team of experts, we heard it before. Attitude, will, competences all together can be really something which explodes if you don't have that on board. Mindset, attitude, we heard it already. For me, super important. So to be agile, you can say it pretty easy, but to be really agile, so that you learn, that you transform, that you always repeat, you learn from your failures, so to speak, then it can work. Agile work. And last but not least, strong focus on the business model and really to gain new ways of making money, making new business, incorporate customers there and address them smoothly and smart so that they are willing to participate in your ecosystem as well. And last but not least, and this is in my opinion very normal and it's inevitable, that the change which I had beforehand with my supernova, we are already in. So it's coming, if we like it or not. We have to participate there. We want to participate. We are believers in that area, and we think we can really change the game as well. And that's why we as a company, small, can to some extent take over responsibility in order to really make the difference there. And that's it from my side.
Thank you, Andreas Sicheneder.